The Erskine Bridge links the two communities of Western Bartonshire and Renfrewshire together, and it was built in the late 1960s and opened in the early 70s.
What people don't realise perhaps is the two high pressure gas pipelines suspended just under the footpaths there, and they would pass over them every day. The gas pipeline was built at the same time as the bridge was built, so it's getting on for 50 years old now.
SGN has a duty of care to ensure that we maintain our assets and our pipelines to the highest quality. And at that point we decided to invest significantly on replacing the pipeline.
We were approached by Transport Scotland when they were planning to refurbish their bridge, and we were presented with a unique window of opportunity. It wouldn't have been possible to reinstall the pipes within the bridge as a working and open bridge without closing it to traffic for a long period of time. So we had to find a solution of crossing the river that didn't involve using the bridge. And we came up with one location, the only location that there was to install a new pipeline if that was going to happen.
So we thought that if we could install a new crossing of the Clyde and decommission the existing pipes, we wouldn't have that responsibility of maintaining the sort of ageing asset. Even some of my colleagues that are industry experts in their field have said that it's some of the most challenging that they've done.
The structures, the water courses.
It's like taking all the challenges you would get in a large cross-country pipeline project and condensing them all into 2 kilometres.
The pipeline goes under a gas station there, the Antonine Wall, which is an old Roman wall, the A82, which is a dual carriageway through a local park, Kilpatrick railway station there, St Patrick's Church. Then we cross the Forth and Clyde Canal under the Saltings, which is this area here. Obviously cross under the river itself. On the other side we pop out in the Marhall golf course, then go through Bodenboo Woods before connecting back into our existing pipeline. So yeah, just 1 or 2 obstacles to overcome.
We had originally looked at installing the whole job as one long, large HDD, but the ground conditions towards the northern end of the job didn't lend themselves to HDDs particularly well. However, the ground below the river we did see as being suitable for using HDD. We commissioned boreholes to just double check what the ground conditions were like and get a better idea of what we would encounter below the river, and we selected HDD as the appropriate technique to cross the River Clyde and the Saltings Nature Reserve and the Dumbarton Road and the Forth and Clyde Canal.
The first technique we used to drill under the river and a few of the obstacles was the HDD, which is a horizontal directional drill.
HDD is an adaptation of offshore oil well drilling technology where you drill a pilot hole with a drilling head, and that is pushed through the ground by drilling rods. And once you have your drilling head to the opposite side of the crossing, you then put on a reamer which is pulled back through and opens the hole out into a larger diameter. At all times the hole is kept open by a positive pressure of drilling mud, and once you have your hole open to the correct diameter, you then hook on the pre-welded pipes and you pull the pipes into the void that you have created with your HDD.
So we set up a drill rig at one side and we drill right across under all those obstacles to Marhall, and then that allows us to pull the pipe in. Just behind Marhall we had all this pipe all laid out, and then we had to pull it back under the river. The HDD relies on the drilling fluid, which is a bentonite slurry. The mud is pumped down the drill pipes to the head, and then it comes out in little ejectors, and that's actually what drives the drilling head itself. And the most important thing, it carries all the cuttings back out.
Due to the very tight specification that Network Rail have for installing under-track crossings, the settlement is the key thing that has to be avoided when you're crossing railways. So HDD was not ideal in the ground conditions that the railway is set in to have a crossing of that nature. So what we looked at doing there was a microtunnel.
Microtunnel is not, as the name suggests, small. It's actually fairly significant. The launch shaft was 8 metres in diameter and 20 metres deep. Do the same thing at the reception shaft, and that's ready for the tunnelling. So that's all the enabling works for the tunnelling to take place. The method then, you cut a hole underground, you push a concrete pipe behind the cutting head, so you always have a supported area so you can understand underneath the railway platform. That is very important. The actual tunnel was 1.2 metres in diameter, so you could walk through it. The next step is then to actually install the gas pipeline there. They get lowered down the shaft and they get pushed through, they get welded, coated, pushed through and repeat till you've gone. It was about 100 metres is the length, so it's quite an onerous process.
Of the three trenchless crossing types that we used, auger boring is perhaps the simplest, but it's still a complicated process.
We have a launch area and a reception area, and then we put the drilling machine down there. And an auger is almost like a corkscrew. As it's cutting through the ground, the material comes back along the auger itself. So we actually used the steel pipe behind the auger bore, and that was to cross under a live Scottish water main and our live gas pipeline, which is currently in use.
Once we had completed the main crossings, we were left with the final stretch up the public highway to connect the pipeline into our existing asset up at Kilpatrick pressure reduction station. That seemed straightforward until we put our first bucket in the ground and we found groundwater under pressure at about 300 to 500 mil below surface. So we had to commission an expert dewatering company to come up with a solution to reduce the water table and take the pressure from the water so that we could install a safe system of work to get the pipeline into the ground. That involved sinking wells at 1 metre centres 4 to 6 metres below the ground, connecting them up to a vacuum system and lowering the water table so that we could dig in dry ground conditions.
Here we're looking at a dewatering system, so something that should have been fairly easy to do, to open trench here and just lay the pipe, is difficult due to the ground conditions. So it's quite wet with running sand, etc. It makes it difficult for the excavation to stay intact. What's happened here, there's these wells have been dug here, so there's 115 well points have been dug down. They connect up to this main pipe, and then what we do is we pump the water out, and it means it just dries locally here to allow the guys to actually excavate the trench to be able to safely do that and install the pipe. And that means we're also not impacting the integrity of the structure here behind me, which has got dual carriageway above it. So we needed to be confident that we were not going to adversely affect that as well.
As part of the planning process for the project, we had to consult with a number of key stakeholders, and of that, the main one was Transport Scotland, who owned the Erskine Bridge, and we were putting our pipe within 7 metres of the bridge at some points, so we had to ensure that our installation wasn't going to affect the integrity of the bridge in any way. So as well as engaging with Transport Scotland, we also had to cross the Forth and Clyde Canal, which is a scheduled ancient monument, and we had to cross under a lock on the canal as well. So Scottish Canals were very helpful, and we met with them up front and went through all our proposals with them, and they were very comfortable with what we did and happy with the outcome that we got. And as well as that, we had Network Rail. We had to cross below the railway and make sure that we didn't cause any settlement to the rail tracks or cause any disruption to rail traffic. So again, we consulted with Network Rail and presented our designs to Network Rail, and they were again satisfied that we had taken all appropriate measures to safely install the pipeline below the railway. We have to put the land back to a condition at least as good as, if not better than it was when we took possession of the land in the first place.
We did a bit of work in the woods, and we had to fell some trees, and all the trees will be replanted with local species.
So we've reseeded a lot of the land. The golf course, the grass is already established. The football pitch, we've put turf back, and it's becoming established in there, and hopefully the local community will be back to playing football on that pitch sooner rather than later.
Stakeholder engagement and community involvement is absolutely critical in projects like this, and it's to everyone's real credit that we have not had one serious complaint since this project commenced.
You know, we spent a lot of time doing research, speaking to the local community, finding out sort of local knowledge, and keeping them updated. We obviously wanted to make the project successful, with the least impact to the community, not just the people, but the environment, and just looking after the place.
The stakeholder element of the job has been absolutely vital to the success of the project. We've had many difficult engineering challenges, and the communication around these things had to be first class, which it has been, and we've completed the project almost without any issues at all. A huge part of the success of the project.
When I first heard going to be turning underneath the golf course, I did have concerns at the time. Yeah, the communication has been great between us all. We haven't lost any golf days. All the noise was kept down to a minimum. There was no impact in business at all. We've always been given information, even right down to we've had green netting up to hide any work going on. We've had acoustic sound panels put up as well, which to stop any noise when, especially at parts of the project that could be noisy, and that's had no impact on the business here at all, so it's been great.
And Murphy's themselves and the other people involved, SGN and everyone else, have been very good at communicating all the various aspects of what was going on, the time scale, what was going to happen.
Well, the school actually almost sits directly under the Erskine Bridge, so we try to do as much as we can within the local community to share the value of the bridge and the importance of it historically and to the current climate. And Chris and the team and from SGN had been in and spoken to us. So the children were involved in a lot of health and safety discussion. Then there was a poster competition about safety. The children were involved in the design and the layout of the pipe, signing off the pipe, and all different things involved in that as well. SGN and Murphy have supported us with not just knowledge, but they've supported us at our World of Work Week, for example. We had visitors who came in and spoke specifically to classes. They also came in, we had a speed jobs event, and they came in and chatted to the children from digger drivers to operatives, clerical operatives, to a wide range of jobs. And we were emphasising at that point, which is vitally important to our children, that you don't need to go to university to have a job that you love and a job that brings you joy.
They had a chance to see exactly what the project entails, and I think there's that kind of maybe not really knowing what an engineer was, and the variety of aspects that engineering entails, and yet they're thinking, I can do that, and they couldn't have been more accommodating in terms of allowing us to come down to the site, having that all organised, having their staff available to do all these things. We really appreciate how difficult that can be when they're so busy, and just that relationship that we have now, that we, if they were in the area again, we would contact them again for future years. As part of their legacy, they would like to leave something in the area for the children, and he mentioned the Bug Hotel, which fitted in so perfectly with what we do. We have a forest school group in school, and we use the Saltings area, and this seemed like a fantastic place for them to have, the Bug Hotel, to encourage the children to use this area, and also to use nature.
These kids have signed the pipes. We told them, you're driving over there when you're 25, 30, 35, 40, your name's under the river. That's fantastic to leave that behind. The overriding thing for me is, what a fantastic community. I'm
absolutely delighted to have been a part of it. It's been really, really interesting, and I've learnt something every day, I think.
Incredibly proud to have led the team to deliver this project for SGN.
It really has been a tremendous feat of engineering, and this project has been successfully delivered. I am a very proud MD of Scotland.